I had one client be like, one of his nostrils was bigger than the other nostril. And I was like, girl, like, he has so much of what you're looking for.
And what we do wrong on dating apps is we try to appeal to the masses. You don't want to appeal to the masses. You want to appeal to your person.
Then on the first date, I always recommend keeping it light, keeping it fun.
I am curious when to know if you should go on a second date.
I don't have like okay, so date number 6, do this. I think it's more so about the type of communication you have with the person.
What are your thoughts on women's non-negotiables around height?
Oh my gosh.
So if you can't stalk them, just stalk their mom.
Yeah. The biggest lessons that I learned, I never want to marry someone just kind of as a means to an end. I know people say all the time, like, be careful with what you believe, be careful with what you think about. And it's like, yeah, no, but seriously, because you will see it everywhere. You'll be confirmed of it more to think that like dating apps don't work or there's no good guys in Nashville.
A breakup can be the best thing to ever happen to you if you let it be.
When you know who you are and what you want and what your values are, you can matchmake yourself for your business. You can matchmake yourself for your friends, your dream career, of course, your dating life. We hold the power to create certain aspects of our life.
Hi, house guest. Welcome back. Welcome to my home. This week, y'all are coming over to this. Well, we're going to catch up really quickly. And then later, I have brought in the big guns for another dating episode. I have a former matchmaker, my friend Nora, who is genuinely the coolest girl alive. You guys are going to love her, okay? And she is giving us the best dating tips / I'm just kind of nosy and I need to know a little bit about the matchmaking. She's amazing. Actually, before I did my dating challenge, which we will get to because a lot has happened in the past week. Life of a Showgirl came out. I hard launched my boyfriend, which is crazy, that I met through my dating challenge, which is documented on my YouTube channel, my TikTok. If you guys kept up, I forced myself, it was my friend Allie's idea. I forced myself to go on 10 dates in 30 days. And I actually got a boyfriend out of it, which is like so crazy. But Allie was always telling me like, oh my gosh, I had this friend Nora in Nashville. You guys need to like meet, whatever. So she came to a dinner. This is right before I did the dating challenge. And we just had the most fabulous time. I love this girl. Like she's really everything. And I was so curious, naturally, of course, about her being a matchmaker, which we will get into in today's episode. I've got a lot of questions. And we were talking about dating and she was just giving me great advice. And what do you know? Found a boyfriend. So I figured we might as well bring her onto the show because a lot of people are curious and they're wanting to do the 10 dates in 30 days challenge, which I will do, I guess, top of the episode right this second. The rules were I was going on 10 dates in 30 days. I never said they couldn't be repeat dates. That was really it. And I would force myself to go, which I'm going to talk about in the episode. But my first date, the rule was drinks for 1 hour. That is how you fit in dates when you feel like you have no time to date. Like if you're going to dinner 1 hour earlier, meet someone for drinks. And I met every single date on Hinge. I'm so pro Hinge, so pro dating apps, even though I was like, I don't really want to do that. Like, you know, you guys have been with me for a long time. You've heard me in all my like dating stuff and whatever. So anyway, this is a really fitting episode, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Also, Life of a Showgirl, I love it, okay? I don't care what anyone says. Like, first off, yes, I am a diehard, blindly loyal Swiftie, yes, of course. But I actually love this album. This is coming from someone, one, I've been here since day one. Two, I am not like a pop girl. I don't really I like pop music, don't get me wrong, but like if I'm listening to something at home, it's never like pop music. It's not really my vibe. Like my favorite Taylor Swift albums are like Folklore, Evermore, Torture Poets Department. Like I like, and even the other albums, like I like the slower stuff. And I love Life of a Showgirl. And Eldest Daughter, let me tell you, couldn't have come at a more perfect time for me. Not to make everything about me, but bringing it back to me. Amazing. And I don't care that it's cringe. I think that's kind of the point. I think we're missing the mark. Wouldn't the kids say that's camp? Like, let's bring that back, okay? Love it. I will give you guys, no one's asking, but I'll give you guys my ranking as of today. It really does change pretty much every single day. But I will say, I do want to say, number 1 would be Eldest Daughter. Number 2 would be The Fate of Ophelia. Number 3 would be Elizabeth Taylor. And we also need to talk about how Taylor Swift liked Macy's TikTok, which is really exciting. She went straight to Framebridge. She's 25 now, so she does frame things. She has moved into her New York City apartment, just giving you guys a little Macy update. And we're very excited for her. I'm going to go visit in December. You know, it is really sad, obviously, her being gone and away from Texas and stuff. But, you know, we'll be reunited one day. I know that for a fact, and it's going to be okay. And then Opalite. That would be I think my top 4. But I genuinely love every song. Like, I'm looking at it and I actually really do. I'm just shocked. Like, I am not a pop girl and I love the album. So I just feel like maybe let it grow on you. Also, any seasoned Swiftie would know that normally it takes a second to like an album. Like, because all the different eras are so different, you listen, it's not what you know, whatever. We won't even get into this today. But I will say, huge Life of a Showgirl girl over here. Also, my Christmas tree is up, which is important to know. I had to do that because I am between Texas and Tennessee until mid-November, and I had to put my Christmas tree up so that it would be there when I get back because it's November and then I need to be there. Also, I'm going back earlier. I have to shoot some Christmas stuff and, whatever. All that to say, I did put my Christmas tree up on October 2nd, and then guys, imagine that, October 2nd, tree looks better than ever. Like, I went with a new vision this year and it genuinely looks like it's out of an Anthropology magazine. Not to brag of my skills, but it does. It looks impeccable, okay? Next morning I go out there, all the lights in my pre-lit tree, done, shot. I tried that little gun thing that everyone told me about. It's not working. So I have to get the exact same tree and redo the entire thing, which is fine, which is why it's so good, actually, to decorate for Christmas early because I have the time. I am a little bit devastated about it because it looks really, really stunning, I will say, but it's okay. So anyways, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I think it's probably going to be our best dating episode yet because Nora's just the best. And like, I always hated like dating advice and listening to dating podcasts and all of that stuff because it would just give me anxiety and like stress me out. And I didn't like all the like TikTok rules and whatever. And when I was talking to Nora in person, she made me feel so much better about it and way calmer, which is why I obviously had to bring her on for the girlies that listen to House Guests because I know that you guys will love this. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the episode. If you guys are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, you're listening, make sure to watch on YouTube because the show is so much better with video. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and let's welcome Nora onto the show after the longest intro of our lives. I have so many questions for you today.
I have so many answers.
The timing is perfect.
Yeah, I know.
Literally amazing. Can you give us, starting, just a little bit of a career background?
Yeah.
You have such an interesting career.
Okay, so how Kenzie and I met,
Yes.
we were at a dinner talking, and she was talking about her dating, where she wanted to do 30 dates in 30 days?
10 days. No, 10 dates in 30 days.
10 dates in 30 days. And I was like, wait, I used to be a matchmaker.
Mm-hmm.
So my career, I doubled in psych and business in undergrad. I moved to New York City. I was a matchmaker to like celebrities and people who needed to be private about their dating life. That job was so much fun and so interesting. But after about 3 years, I got really disheartened. Like, wait, I'm just setting people up with matches. I'm not actually helping them figure out if it's the right match for them or, how to have confidence in their dating life or how to know who they are and what their values are and how they can show up in a relationship authentically. So I got trained as a coach by Tony Robbins, if you're familiar with him.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know it was Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
He was like my intro. My mom's a therapist, so I always thought I'd go back to school, become a therapist. But then I found coaching, and really the difference between therapy and coaching is therapy is focused on, okay, why are you the way that you are? And how did your past condition you to have the patterns that you have now? Coaching is really focused on a little bit of why you are the way you are, but more so, okay, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What's stopping you from where you want to go? How do you get clarity on what your dream life or career or relationship is? And how do we make sure you show up for that authentically? So got trained by Tony, got trained by his coach, a guy named John Grinder. Started my coaching practice. That was 6 years ago now. And that has really naturally transitioned from date coaching to life coaching. And now I do a lot of business coaching, a lot of identity coaching, like who are you? Still the same theme, who are you? But now more who are you and how do you want to build a brand around that? Whether that's a personal brand or a business brand. But still your brand is aligned with dating. Your brand is aligned with your business if you want to start a business or have a social media following. It's all still the same work. It's like your mission and your why and your values and how do you be your most authentic self, like unapologetically? How do you be yourself everywhere you are?
You are the perfect guest to have on this week because with the hard launch, of course,
yeah, the
amount of questions I've gotten from girls, which we're going to go through in the episode, pretty much every single thing that you just said of how you work through are all the questions that everyone has right now. So this is perfect.
It couldn't be better timing.
No, it literally couldn't be better timing.
It was like straight up hard launch. Like when I saw your post, I was like, Shut up.
Imagine like having those photos for months, like waiting. Because I was like, these are incredible photos.
Because I was like, oh, did she not do the dating thing? Or like, did she? Or
No, it
and
happens.
then like I started seeing it and I was like, wait, oh my gosh, we're doing it.
No, I did it and it worked.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, we need to go back to matchmaking though, because
Okay.
I'm so curious about this. Yeah, sure. You majored in these, you moved to the city. How do you end up becoming a matchmaker? Like I don't know anyone who's been a matchmaker.
Yeah, I never heard of it either. And like most of my friends were like, what? This is a job, you're making money? And I'm like, yeah. So I really didn't like my first job when I first moved to New York City. I worked in recruiting in banking and I'm like not passionate about finance. That's just like not what gets me up in the morning. And so I started just researching like what are I was 21, right out of college. What are companies that people like to work for? What are jobs that people like to do? I was so curious. And I found this article that said 50 companies that people like to work for. And one of them was this matchmaking company. So I applied and the job description was like, be your client's best friend as you ride the roller coaster of dating with them. And I was like, I could do that. Like, I'm good at helping people, reminding them who they are.
Yeah.
And helping them feel confident in themselves. So that's how I found it.
So crazy.
Yeah.
What was your day-to-day as a matchmaker?
So let's see here. The company that I worked for was a subsidiary of IAC, which owns Match.com, OkCupid, Tinder, JDate, Christian Mingle. So we would get leads every day and I would call them. So it would oftentimes be people that I knew or I looked up to or I had like read about when I was younger. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, Nora, I'm so excited to talk to you. I can't wait to talk about what I'm looking for in my dating life. I would meet them at like a coffee shop or somewhere like public in New York and just sit down with them privately, obviously, and talk about like their life and what they're looking for and what didn't work in their past relationships and their values and what they care about in a future relationship. And then I would go look for that. So I would meet people on the subway. I would meet people in the park. I would meet people at events. I would go to a lot of events. And if I saw a girl or a guy that looked like my client's type, it's kind of like this show. What's that movie, Minimalist?
Yes.
It was like that couldn't have been a better depiction of what I did, both the good and the bad. It was like so much fun to just randomly go up to people and be like, hey, I'm a matchmaker. Are you single? And it was also really disheartening. That's why I got into coaching, because it was disheartening to see how many people were dating without really fully knowing who they are.
Mm-hmm. What did you learn through matchmaking? Like, what are like the main differences between what a man is looking for and what a woman is looking for?
Wait, you're so good at this. These are like such good questions. I'm like, wait, good question. I learned so much. I was 21 when I first started, or maybe 22 at that point. So I didn't know who I was. So I was like helping other people figure out what they wanted in dating while I was also dating. I remember I went through a really tough breakup about 2 years in that job. And I called my boss crying. And I was like, I can't help people find love today. Like, I'm heartbroken. I'm struggling. I can't be that cheerleader for other people right now. The biggest lessons that I learned is, number one, I never want to marry someone just kind of as a means to an end. I saw so many people who were divorced. Usually my clients were about between 30 and 45 or 50 was the average age range. And oftentimes they were divorced and trying to date again. And they would tell me, I just got married not knowing who I was and out of kind of societal pressure. And the person I married is just not anyone who I would actually align with once I've become who I really am. So it kind of made me slow down a little bit and make me be like, wait, I want to figure out what my passions are, what my goals are, what my dreams are in life. Not necessarily before I meet my person, but definitely while I meet people, instead of thinking, oh, meeting someone will be this solving of my problems. I want to figure out who I am and meet someone at the same time.
I don't know if this is because my parents are divorced or just seeing, I don't even feel like I really saw a lot of healthy marriages that I looked up to as a kid.
Yeah.
But that's always been my biggest fear in general. I'm an Enneagram 3. So like my biggest fear is failure, but to me, failure is settling. Mm-hmm. So I've always been kind of like really crazy when it came to dating. With that being said, like I've also made so many mistakes and dated every single person that I've dated up until now has been the wrong person, obviously. So like there's in so many ways that I think other people would maybe think I was settling, but I'm so terrified of settling. And I think that like who you marry is the most important decision that you make. It affects everything forever.
Yes.
And also your kids, like if you want to have kids. So to me, like, I don't know. I was finally in a setting when I was around like 21, 22, where I saw a lot of healthy marriages and like what it could be. And that I feel like almost is kind of similar to you, it made me never want to settle ever.
Yep.
Like even more than I did not want to before.
Yep.
Like this is such a big decision. It makes me, when I see people that like I know personally that I feel as though they're settling or they're just with someone that like doesn't treat them well, it makes me like physically ill. Like it makes me feel like claustrophobic and just so sad for them, even though of course that's their life and like their decision to make.
Totally.
But I just think so often like, yeah, a lot of it is not knowing who you are, which of course you never fully do. You're always growing and always changing and evolving. I think there's a lot of pressure on that as well. But it is just sad to see it happen. Yep. And also people looking at it as, again, like what you said, like a means to an end or like something to check off the box. Like when you could just, God forbid, stay single for another like 5-6 years and find the love of your life and be so much happier, you know? If I would have married who I thought I wanted to marry 5 years ago, I would be the most miserable person on the planet.
Dude, same.
And it was my fault at that point. Like I didn't know what I want. It was just not right. Yeah. Not right at all.
When you don't, because you're right, it is an evolving process to figure out who we are. But our values usually stay pretty consistent.
True.
And most people don't know their values. And so then we go into dating, and I still would see this as a matchmaker. I'd have clients call me after the date and be like, I don't know, I had one client be like, one of his nostrils was bigger than the other nostril. And I was like, girl, like, he has so much of what you're looking for. Like, let's talk about your values and his values. Do they align and blah, blah. That was hard when people didn't want to look at what's actually going to make a relationship long-term work and what's actually going to make you happy and make your heart feel safe and expand your life because you guys live similarly or really help balance each other. When we're just looking at kind of surface level thing or quick attraction thing, of course, attraction is really important, but we need to have both. And when people don't fully know what their values are, it's really, really tough to match them.
Also convenient timing because last week's episode was all on values.
Wait, really?
So literally amazing.
I have to watch.
Literally amazing.
Oh my gosh.
What are your thoughts on women's non-negotiables around height?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I have a really good story about this actually, and I don't think I was a matchmaker yet. So it's like it was just such a like aha moment for me before I even started matching. I moved to New York City. Had been single for a while. I was single pretty much all through college. And I met a guy. I really liked him. And he was so kind, so sweet to me. We started dating and I called my mom and I was like, I just don't know. And she was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. He seems kind of short. And she was like, how tall is he? And I was like, he's 5'10". I'm 5'5". Like, that's not short. But I was like, I think he's like 5'10". My mom was like, Nora, do you know how tall your dad is? And I was like, I think he's like 6 foot. And my mom was like, your dad is 5'8", okay? And it was that moment of like, oh my gosh, my dad is like the biggest, most strong protector, like has always loved me so well and has been such a good father figure in my life. He's 5'8". That doesn't matter. I never saw him as small or short. Mm-hmm. I saw him as safe and a leader and really someone who helped me guide my life. And so that lesson, even before being a matchmaker, was so pivotal for me of like, oh my gosh, height really doesn't matter. It's, again, their heart and how they treat you. Of course, we want to be attracted. So I always tell people, be realistic with yourself. But safety comes in a lot of forms, not just height.
Yeah. I see people, like friends of mine, who will not date anyone under like 6'3", 6'4". Mm-hmm. And there's amazing guys that are actually really, really good guys that literally just because of the height thing, they won't date. And then they'll date the biggest asshole because they're 6'4". Yep. Height has never been a huge thing for me. I've actually normally always dated, for the most part, like shorter guys. Just like out of habit, but also like the guys in my family are 5'10". Like my boyfriend now is 5'10". Like that's like a normal height. Like
it's a really normal
it's not
height.
even something that like crosses my mind or I think of. Yep. But I was just so curious because I feel like that's like the number one thing I hear.
Oh, it was the biggest thing.
It's
like,
crazy.
It was so big. But again, that would always be like the first thing someone would say. And I think it's oftentimes a protective thing.
Agreed.
Like both protective of like, oh, you want this guy to be able to protect you, but any size guy can protect us. It's about how they treat us and how they protect our heart. But also it's a protective thing internally for the woman of like, oh, if I judge him first, then I won't feel vulnerable myself. So if I look at all these things that could be wrong about him or, oh my gosh, I want this instead of this, then you're not looking at yourself of like, wait, I feel a little bit insecure about XYZ about myself. And that's why I love coaching, because I get to actually see people, hold the mirror up to them and be like, hey, like, let's talk about that and really set them free from those self-judgments so that then they stop judging other people.
That is so true. It
It's so fun.
100% is a self-protective thing.
Yeah.
You were so right.
Yeah.
I want to talk about figuring out what you even want in dating.
Yeah.
I got so many girls messaging me saying, I don't even know where to begin with what I'm wanting, which actually for me, like with the dating challenge, I remember saying to you, like, it's crazy. I've been out of the game for so long. I actually don't even know what I'm looking for anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what I want. And I've really dated across the board.
Yeah.
My boyfriend now is actually like everyone in my life is like, if I could have pictured like the perfect man for you, like that's exactly what I pictured. But I was even in a place where, and I feel like I'm someone who knows myself pretty well. Like, and I've done so much therapy. I'm so into all of this. Like, I felt like I kind of almost felt weird for like not knowing what I wanted in dating, but it was comforting to me to get all these messages from girls of people who just, and guys, like actually a lot of guys on the dating stuff. I was surprised. I was like, where'd you guys come from?
Great.
But yeah, what advice would you give to someone who's like trying to figure out what they're even looking for?
I love that you were like, hey, I don't necessarily know what I'm looking for. So you were starting where you are, which is so important. It's kind of like a map. If we don't start where we are, then we won't be able to figure out where we want to go. Mm-hmm. So anyone who messaged you and was like, I don't know what I want, great. Like, at least you know that you don't know what you want. At least you're starting honestly, instead of being like, well, my mom likes these type of guys, or all my friends date these type of girls. Like, that's where we get lost when we're not honest with ourselves about where we're at. So not knowing what you want is actually a good thing. Even Taylor Frankie Paul, like our next bachelorette, let's go. I watched her interview and I love that she said like, hey, I want to date lots of different guys. I haven't really dated a lot of people. I've always been in a relationship. And I was the same way before I became a matchmaker. I'd really just had one long-term relationship. I'd never really dated. And then after being out of that relationship and being a matchmaker, I dated a lot of different types of guys. Now I'm in a relationship where I know, I love this about him. I love this about him. This really fits well with me, because I had dated other guys that I was like, oh, that didn't work well for me. That didn't align with me. So I think being open to different types of people is actually a really good thing. But also, again, really being really clear about, okay, what do I value? What is fun to me? What's not fun to me? How do I like to live? What's my faith? Like, is that important to me? What's my goals or my dreams in the future? So I think how you know what you want is really knowing, again, who you are and what you like and what really matters to you. And then kind of feeling how that feels with other people and realizing not everyone's going to be an identical twin to you. You don't want that, but they can respect those things that you really value within yourself.
That just reminded me of 2 dating books that I read years ago that I loved. They're not necessarily both dating books, but one is Breakup Boot Camp by Amy Chan.
Yeah.
Do you know her?
I don't know her personally, but like I know her. I know what she teaches.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I've had her on the podcast like years ago, and I was going through a breakup. Cool. And they had pitched her, and I was just like, oh, I'll read it because it's about the science of breakups. And I, especially at the time, was like so into brain health, so into all of that stuff. And I was really interested in the actual science of breakups. Yeah. And it's so interesting, that book I always recommend it to my friends who are going through any sort of breakup. Cool. And I'm like, it's so interesting because it's not even really about a breakup. Like, it always comes back to you. Yeah. So I think it's a good book for anyone. And then the on attachment theory is so good. And you think it's going to be all about relationships, and it always comes back to you at the end. Yeah. And I think as like women, it's really easy when you're going through breakups to like blame everything on the guy or be like, oh, he sucked and he did this and he did that. And like, sure, that probably is true. Like a lot of that has happened, but also there's a lot of, I think when we do that, it's really easy to like push it all off on them and not have any responsibility, or even take like learning moments from that. And I like to like have like control. So like, even though not that like I have 100% been the wrong in like so many relationships, like I'm not like, oh, they always did this to me. But even in the ones where like there's not maybe as much that you could have done on your end, I think it's helpful. Like, I think back, I was saying this in a vlog earlier, I'm like, I really lost a lot of trust in myself with dating by picking the wrong people. Yeah. And it really knocked my confidence because I thought I really knew myself and I thought I really knew what I wanted. Yeah. But clearly I didn't. So it really like knocked down my confidence. Anyway, all that to say, all of dating always just comes back to you.
Well, and I think that's so important to talk about is like, because it can be really vague advice, like what I just said of like, yeah, date lots of different types of people to see what you like. You do that with a little bit of a boundary and a protection of your heart. When you're dating people, you're not giving them all of yourself, and you're not like fully just in right away. You're getting to know the person. You're slowly going on coffee dates. You're spending time with them and seeing how they react in different settings and different situations. You see how they respond to stress. You see how they speak to their family or to the waiters or to yourself. Because I'm the exact same way. I've gotten like deep in relationships, completely lost myself because talk about the neuroscience of dating and just neuroscience in general. Our brain is like on a drug, a literal cocaine type drug when we're falling in love. So of course our boundaries are gonna go out the window and we're gonna think they're amazing and we're gonna easily get kind of enmeshed in that relationship before we really know if we can trust that person. So for people listening, like it's so important to date different types of people and see how you feel with different people while still like holding on to your own self and your own values and keeping those separate. I think that's why marriage is so sacred and so special, because that is finally when you know someone so well that you can say, wait, I can become one with you.
I also think you know more than you think you do.
Yeah, that's so true. Like our intuition.
Yeah, your
like
intuition is crazy.
Yeah.
I remember I was dating this guy that I was like obsessed with. It was very love bomb-y from the start. We literally shook hands and I was like, I'm in love. And it was very hot and heavy, like immediately.
Yeah. We've all been there.
We've all been there.
Raise your hand if you've been there, okay?
Literally. I'm like, we've all done it. And the entire relationship, which was very short-lived, I had a steady stream of anxiety like flowing through my body the entire time.
Yeah.
And I was not willing to admit to myself that it was the relationship.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I have an anxious attachment type, and that's why. And like, I just got out of a relationship a couple months ago, and it's hard for me to get back into this, and this is right, and I'm just stressed, and like, whatever. And then lo and behold, the second we broke up, the anxiety went away.
Yeah.
Like, I think your body will tell you, like, I do hesitate to say that because, like, of course there is anxiety and of course there is anxious attachment theory and like whatever. But for my experience after doing that and going to therapy and trying to go more into a secure attachment type, like, I've not had a single ounce of like anxiety or worry or anything in this relationship. I think I just see things so much differently now, having experienced like literally the complete opposite. I'm like, oh, this actually does exist. And maybe I think a lot of the time for me, like where attachment theory got unhealthy, even though I love attachment theory and I'm so interested in it, I would just, instead of like my intuition, I would blame it on like having an anxious attachment type. Do you have any advice for someone who would to maybe like decipher between those two?
So much. I think sometimes we can be so self-diagnosing and so self-absorbed and trying to figure out what's going on with self that we can get distracted from just being honest with ourselves and with others, because we're kind of similar to like focusing on height and focusing on, okay, well, this is how my mom is, or this is how I was, or this is how my sister is, instead of just like focusing on, wait, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Like what's real right now? What's real to this other person? Let me talk about how I feel and see how they react. I think we make it way more confusing than it needs to be.
Agreed. I think the second that you start to to over therapize and over confuse the situation, like you're probably in the wrong situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least speaking from my experience, I think anytime I've done that in the past, it just wasn't right. But I was literally bending over backwards and trying to do like mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
That's what I would always say. I'm like, the main difference, that's what I said at the very beginning. I'm like, the main difference between like my relationship now and like relationships in the past is I feel like with every other person, I had to do some sort of mental gymnastics on like how I was going to make that relationship work.
Yeah.
Like there were big things at the start that I knew I didn't love or I didn't like, but I was willing to make myself smaller or to forego something or whatever that might be in order to like make that relationship happen. Whereas like with this relationship, like there's not been a single like second. I didn't even really realize like how aligned and perfect we were for each other to begin with, because it just was so easy that I didn't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
wait, so like how did that, like, what do you think the difference is?
We're just really perfectly matched.
Yeah.
Like even in like the smallest things of like, we both listen to like old music that like is very specific stuff, or like we're different in certain ways. Our values are very similar, but like I'm a lot more career oriented and like want to do all this stuff. He is career oriented. He's not very career oriented, but he does like, he works like he's driven and like he's driven in different ways. We're both very driven. We are driven in like different ways, I would say, which is funny because I always thought I needed someone, and people would always tell me like, you need someone who's like so successful and such an entrepreneur and such a whatever. And like, I actually knew I didn't want that because I'd been with people in the past that were like that, and all it did was like harpen my anxieties.
Wow.
It actually didn't help me at all. So like from dating, I realized like, oh, I actually don't want that. I want someone who like really wants a family and really like honestly selfishly wants to like support me in my career. Like I don't want the two competing things. Like I want it to be more of like a family thing. So there's just like things that I learned through dating other people of what I like wanted.
Exactly. And I feel like that's why even one of my clients is going through a breakup right now. And she's like, I don't think I can do this. And I just always tell people who say that to me, look at friends, look at people like Kenzie, look at people like me. We've all been through breakups and we've survived and we've learned from it. And it's actually helped us like tailor even further what we want in a partner.
Totally.
Which is, I think, is such a gift.
And also, I think, like, not to be so cheesy, but I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm like, if you would have just told me, like, I'm so much happier now. Like, and it's so annoying because everyone does tell you that when you're going through a breakup. Like, one day it'll make sense. One day you'll be so grateful for this. One day, like, you will be so glad that you broke up. I promise you. But, like, I'm saying that now. I like to think of myself like when I'm going through something like 40 years from now, like myself at however old how old am I, 20, whatever, myself in my 60s being like, you don't even think about that. Yeah. Like it's so not a big deal. But now I'm so glad that like all the other relationships didn't work out.
Same. But
know?
During the time, like I literally felt like
no, I felt like it was over.
I
like
felt
my
like
life.
I was gonna die. Like I felt like I couldn't leave my apartment. I couldn't do anything. Thank God for my friends, and thank God for me. It was always during those times. Actually, my first breakup, the guy that was 5'10", and I've of course fell in love with him because height doesn't matter, and also 5'10's pretty darn tall. But when we broke up, that's right during that breakup is when I read a book, Strengths Finder, and I figured out about strengths and my strengths, and it was like really helped me define my career and really grow in my career, and then attach those two books. And it was because I was heartbroken on my apartment floor in New York City, didn't think I could wake up and go to work. Like I just didn't think I could do it. But it was such a blessing to help me figure out who I am today.
A breakup can be the best thing to ever happen to you if you let it be.
If you let it.
Like you have to just allow it to. And I just think even when we're talking about like over therapizing things, when you're like, no, it could work and if they did this and if they did, and it's not worth it. Just let it go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have to.
Exactly.
You have to. Like there's
there's
no
so many.
option.
I tell so many of my clients, hey, there's 8 billion people in the world. There are so many people you could match with, so many people you could connect with. It's not that serious. It really isn't until you attach really deeply with someone. Of course, then that's going to be very serious. But take your time in attaching with this person. Get to know them. Ask real questions. Don't keep it surface level. Don't keep it casual. Like I think it's one of the hottest things you could do is to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. Like, what are you looking for? When you wait to talk about that for a really long time, that's when you allow people in your life that are actually really their standard is to be pretty avoidant and to be really casual. But when you really clearly say, hey, this is who I am, then you're going to scare the people away who are afraid of intimacy. And you'll attract the people who are attracted to that, which just makes dating so much easier.
So much easier.
Like so much.
I think one of the worst things you can do in dating, I heard this on a podcast once, World's First Podcast, my favorite podcast.
Wait, love.
And there was a dating coach on there and she was saying like you should make your profile as specific as possible. If you're a cat lady, put your cat lady. If you're whatever, because that's going to lead you to the right person. What we do wrong on dating apps is we try to appeal to the masses. You don't want to appeal to the masses. You want to appeal to your person.
Hell no.
So be as specific as possible. And I think that's such great advice even on a first date. I want to talk about like what we should be talking about on first dates because that was a ton of the questions. But I think that it's so good even though you might think like, oh, they're not going to like this, whatever. It doesn't matter because like you want the person who's going to like you. So if that is the wrong person, you want them to not like you so you can move on to the next and find the right person.
I used to do that on dating apps. Like I made my dating app very general because I was so afraid of rejection. But it's like, that's not
and
rejection.
We all are.
Yeah, that's not. It wasted my time to go out with guys that had such different visions of a future than I did just because I wanted to be chosen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What do you think we should be talking about on a first date?
I think a first date, well, one, if you do meet someone on a dating app, you're right, make it as specific as possible. It's a marketing tool. So how marketing works is if the business's marketing is chill and general, no one's going to know exactly what they're buying. Like, is it a clothing store? Is it like, what is this business? Same with your brand on a dating app. It's who are you? What do you care about? That's going to help you niche down the type of guys who will message you. That's a really good thing. It makes your life so much easier than having to message all these random people that you don't even know if you can trust or don't even know if they really align with you. So I personally think, and people have mixed opinions on this, I think before a first date, you should do research. I think you should look this person up and figure out and see any photos or anything that they're into, because you don't want to waste your time, and you don't want to, energetically, it's really hard to open our heart and to get to know someone, even just on a first date. So I recommend looking them up and seeing what they're into. And if you see like, oh, wow, they're really into something that like I really am not into, specifically if it kind of is not in alignment with some of your core values, then that's a quick just like, okay, this is probably not going to fit. This is going to be a clear thing that's not, wouldn't work for a long-term relationship. So once you know generally, oh, okay, we generally have some things in common, or some things that I like what he's into and vice versa, then on the first date, I always recommend keeping it light, keeping it fun, and also sharing what you're looking for in dating in general. So not necessarily in a relationship, not necessarily in marriage, but just why are you dating right now? What are you looking for in dating? And asking them what they're looking for. Depending on how they answer that, if they're like, whoa, big question for a first date, like, okay, we don't want someone who invalidates us. We don't want someone who isn't also intentional about dating. Versus most people, if they're intentional, will be like, oh my gosh, this is a breath of fresh air. Most people never talk about this or don't talk about it until 3 months in. Like, this is what I'm looking for. And again, that will just vet out the people who aren't intentional about dating. If you're dating or on dating apps and you're listening to this right now and you're like, oh, I can't be, like, cringe. I can't be that upfront. I can't be that serious. Well, then that's the type of guys you're going to attract, or girls.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
What do you recommend as the first date?
I like coffee dates, personally, like, for people, just because it can be, sometimes people, like, on a Saturday night, it's their Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So you're drinking, if you drink, and that can really fog the actual real connection. Of course, coffee isn't going to be as, like, flirtatious. So if you are going to be doing, like, a daytime date, I recommend, like, bringing that flirtatious energy. Don't go into it like you're going into a networking meeting. Like, have an open heart for that. I don't think you can go wrong with any type of, like, 1 hour get together, whether it's coffee, going on a walk. Yes, you can get a glass of wine if you want to at night. Just remember, hey, it's a first date. I don't want to, like, dive all the way in. I just want to ask a few key questions, like, what are you dating for? Like, what are you looking for? And share kind of what you're looking for as well.
You're kind of vetting them. Yeah. It's really nice.
Truly.
That's what I did, 1 hour drinks dates for every single first date. And it was really helpful for me because it was the only way I could fit it into my schedule. Yeah. Because I would have like a dinner or something at night. Yep. And I could just add it into my schedule when people are like, oh, I have no time today. Well, that was how I did it. Yep. And it worked.
I only recommend an hour. Yeah. Hour and a half max. When, as a matchmaker, when people would call me and they'd be like, it was 5 hours and blah, blah. I'm like, great. Like, that's amazing that you got to know this person. But the next day they would always feel pretty anxious. Like, wait, I told them about like all this stuff and like he hasn't texted me back. I'm like, yeah, one, he should text you back. But two, it's hard emotionally to open up so quickly to someone that we don't fully know if they're worth opening up to.
I am curious when to know if you should go on a second date. When I was doing the dating challenge, I would go on these first dates, and aside from Charlie, I didn't want to go on a second date, and a lot of my comments were, you should give it a shot because I met my husband. I didn't love the first date, but I love the second date, and I'm so glad I went. So, like, how do you know when there's just no spark and you shouldn't go, or you should push yourself for the second date?
I think once you get that first question out of the way of, like, what do you want? Like, what's your vision for the future in terms of just dating and a relationship? I definitely think more than a first date if you guys generally want the same thing. So if someone says, like, I have always known I don't want kids, and you really want kids, like, you should not go on a second date with that person, even if they're hot, even if you have chemistry, even if there's a connection. Like, it's when someone's clear about what they want and it's different than what you want, you never want to enter into a relationship wanting to change the person. It's the worst feeling ever. So after those kind of just core explanations of what you're looking for and when it comes to a relationship, if they align, I always recommend more than a first date.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Obviously, if the person like says those stuff and then you meet them and they're inappropriate or make you feel unsafe or like clearly there's just stuff that's a huge red flag, never go on a second date after that. But I hear so many clients like say, I don't know, I just didn't feel the spark. And I actually learned this from my therapist. She says that the spark is actually anxiety, which it's not, you're smiling. So it seems like you know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. And so I always was looking personally for like this like exciting, like almost like guy on a motorcycle type vibe. Where it just was like, oh, I feel like excited, but excitement in the brain looks exactly like anxiety. So instead of excitement, you want to feel like safety. You want to feel seen. You want to have fun. And all of that comes after just generally knowing, oh, we align generally what we're looking for.
I was literally just about to ask about that.
Yeah.
Because I learned that through my love bombing relationship when it was like such a crazy spark. And that's actually not a great thing at all. Like you don't really want, not that you shouldn't, you want to feel like excited about going on a date. There's a difference though. And to me, I'm like, I grew up in a very like tumultuous household, not amazing marriages around me. So like sometimes when something felt familiar and I would fall into it because it felt familiar, not because it felt safe, I was just repeating the patterns that I saw. So I would have this spark and it was just bad.
Yep.
So now I'm like, all right, I didn't really want that, you know?
I mean, it's so, and for people who judge themselves for entering into relationships that aren't good or staying in relationships that aren't good, I always say it's kind of like learning a new language when we want to enter into new patterns relationally. We all grew up, like I speak English, you speak English. Why do we speak English? Because we grew up in a family and an environment that speaks English. Same with relationship patterns. I used to be attracted to partners that reminded me of the relationships I had growing up that didn't quite work for me, but it's because that's what I knew. It's the language, it's the relational language I knew. And so when people say like, oh, like I just keep going back to the same type of guy or keep repeating the same patterns, I'm like, there's no shame in that. Like we don't feel shame for speaking English because we were taught English. And it's actually really hard to learn French. It's really hard to learn a new language. And so what's the fastest way to learn a new language? Full immersion, like moving to that country. So I personally recommend if people are like finding themselves attracted to this like chemistry or love bombing or just these dynamics that they can't get out of and they keep repeating, I recommend literally quote unquote moving to a new country, like moving to a new language, aka like noticing any friendships that have that same pattern. If your boss or even with your family members, like if you have really little boundaries with them and you're keeping that kind of emotional, relational language continuing, really setting like loving boundaries with those people and then seeking out friendships, coworkers, relationships, partnerships that are speaking this new language, aka they might be more safe or they might be less invalidating of your emotions or they might be more positive or whatever it is that you didn't learn from your upbringing. Seek that out and like fully immerse yourself in those types of relationships and those languages. And it will make dating so much easier because it will begin to feel familiar once you are around it more and more.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
I know, right?
It's genius.
And it takes away the shame because I repeated the same pattern over and over and over again. I always dated guys who were a little bit narcissistic, controlling. I'm really good at just kind of go with the flow and like being controlled and thinking that's like was love. I always thought that was love until I woke up and started going to therapy and I was like, whoa, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my values are. That's why I'm so passionate about helping people figure that out. And my friendship started changing, not to shame anyone else. Like, it's just what they knew too, but it wasn't working for me. And so I very much started entering into friendships that were safe and loving and supported me. And I could call them crying and they wouldn't be like, oh, you're so much. Like, they'd be like, hey, no, I'm here for you anytime. Like, let's go on a walk. I had never had that. And now my relationship mirrors that. But it did start with me having to realize, oh, first of all, I don't like this language that I used to speak. Second of all, whoa, there are people who speak a different language. Again, with the analogy, there are people who treat me differently. I don't have to always have these type of dynamics in my relationships. And then it just woke me up to a whole world of 8 billion people, and I get to choose. I get to vet these people out. I'm not like just out of control and just wait to be chosen and repeat the same pattern. It was really freeing.
I saw a TikTok the other day of this girl saying there's 8 billion people on this earth. The only family member you get to choose is your husband, and that's who you're marrying.
I love
that.
Like,
that's actually so true.
Like, I'm obsessed. Yeah.
What you said about friendship though is so interesting because just thinking back to the past like 5 years of my life and the different relationships and just like dating habits that I've had in the past 5 years has 1,000,000,000% mirrored the relationships that I had around me. And I've had the same best friend for longer than that. And I've had like my two closest friends in the world. It 100% mirrors that versus maybe 3-4 years ago when I was hanging out with like different groups of people, and the relationships that I was in or the people that I was dating, it mirrored those friendships. Like that is so true.
It's what we know.
Yes.
It's why we speak a certain language.
It is so true.
And it's freaking hard to learn a new language. It feels uncomfortable. It feels weird. But if you realize, no, this fits, I want that. I so clearly want that. I think it's worth the work to learn these new, like by a new language, I mean, having boundaries, having self-respect. Maybe your upbringing, like you guys didn't have a lot of joy or a lot of fun, and you start seeing these people that have a lot of joy and fun. Okay, cool. Learn that. Like spend time with them. What's bringing them joy? There's so many people in the world, and we get to choose who we spend time with.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to talk about dating apps.
Okay.
We both met our partners on apps, right?
Okay, so wait, you met Charlie on
Hinge. I met every guy on like through the dating challenge on Hinge.
On Hinge, I met my boyfriend on Hinge.
Hinge
Hannah
is the
met
best.
her husband on Hinge. Like,
my cousin met her husband on Hinge.
Like, okay, Hinge, sponsor us, please.
No, actually, please. I'm begging at this point. We got so many questions about Hinge, and the first thing that I noticed, which I noticed because this was me, I had such a negative perspective on dating. And I was like, there's no one out there. I don't like anyone. I go on the apps and I hate them all. I had such a bad mindset around it. But when I decided I was going to do the challenge, I'm like, no, it's going to be fun. I had no intention of actually meeting someone. I was really, I shouldn't say no intention, but my real intentions behind it were just put myself out there and figure out what I wanted. I didn't think I was going to meet someone.
You were like very much not thinking you're going to meet someone.
No,
You're like,
at all.
I'm just doing this. Like, we'll see. Like, it's for fun.
Yes. Yeah. And I did really try to shift my mindset because I've had such a bad mindset on dating for so long. So I think that was number one. Like the amount of messages I get from girls who are like, there's no one on the apps, or like specific cities. They'll be like, there's no one in Nashville. There's no one in Dallas. There's no one here. I'm like, not with that perspective. There isn't, you know, but that was me. Like, I don't say that in a condescending way. I say that like, the whole time I had that mindset on dating, I didn't meet anyone. Yeah. Because that was like, you're going to find what you're looking for. And I think subconsciously I was looking for bad almost. So I got a lot of questions on like just people in general having like more of like that mindset. Yeah. And then also like prompts, like literally everything when it goes to dating apps. Yeah. So can you speak to a little bit on like the apps and how you feel towards them?
Yes. Okay. First, that mindset, a really quick switch for that. And this helped me so much as a matchmaker when I would tell people this story. So there's something in our brain called the reticular activating system. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's the part of our brain that has our confirmation bias. So whatever we believe, whatever our deeply core held beliefs about any topic, whatever we believe, we will confirm subconsciously and consciously. So an example of this, when I first moved to New York City and I was working, before I was a recruiter, or before I was a matchmaker, I was a recruiter. And I got my first like big sale, and I had never had any type of nice like designer bags or anything like that. And I was like, I really want to buy a Louis Vuitton. Like it was just my big girl purchase for the first time. And so I decided what size, what color, all of that. The next day, I swear to God, every girl in New York City had this specific bag. And I was like, wait a second, what? Did everyone just suddenly get the exact bag I want overnight? Like every girl, everywhere. I probably saw 15 that day. But that's what confirmation bias is. When we believe something, when we believe we'll have something, or we believe we won't have something, whether it's positive or negative, we'll confirm it and we'll see it everywhere. So same with dating. If we think all men are assholes, as an example, we will like see it on TV. We'll see it with our cousin. We'll see it with our friends. Like it will be confirmed and confirmed and confirmed. And then we'll actually attract it because we'll be actually looking for it. Just like the bag that I wanted, I was looking for it. I knew I wanted it, and then I saw it everywhere. So it's really, really, I know people say all the time, like, be careful with what you believe, be careful with what you think about. And it's like, yeah, no, but seriously, because you will see it everywhere. You'll be confirmed of it more, and it will start to be part of your identity to think that like dating apps don't work, or there's no good guys in Nashville, or there's no good guys in New York, or whatever city you're in. If you believe it, you'll confirm it and you'll see it, and then you'll start to even more deeply believe it. Versus the positive beliefs of like, no, dating apps really work. Oh my gosh, Kenzie met her guy on Hinge. Nora met her guy on Hinge. Like, wow. Then you'll start to actually have that positive belief and confirm it everywhere too. So if anyone's listening to this and you feel called out, I love you. I see you. I used to really feel negatively about dating until I actually decided to change that belief. And now I've had so much fun with dating and totally met the love of my life on Hinge. So, how to use dating apps, in my opinion, I think they're a tool, like a marketing tool, like we talked about. I think they make dating easier. I think they make it quicker and a lot less work because you can be really specific about what you're looking for. I actually learned this script from my personal therapist years ago, and it freaking works. Like, it works with every single person I matched with. So this is what I personally do, what I learned from my therapist. One, make my dating app really specific. That's what I did as a matchmaker, so that's confirmed. We all believe that.
How did you make it specific, though?
Okay. Certain, like, a couple of my photos were, like, clearly of me, and the rest of my photos were, like, things I like to do. I'm from Alaska. I like to snowboard. I would show that. Like, I like cold plunges in sauna. I would show that. It wasn't just, like, all of the same types of photos. Photos are so important. So both guys and girls, like, have a couple clear photos of your face and what you look like, and then the rest, like, something that's showing your vibe. If you're super into style, or like Kenzie, like, something with the podcast, or something with, like, being the modern day Martha Stewart, like, of just, like, beautiful homes, like, that would show who you are. And a guy who finds that interesting and cool is going to be like, wait, this girl's different. Because the last thing you want to do on a dating app is, like, have all of your photos look like everyone else's. You want to stand out. You want to be different. Like that girl talked about, like, cats. Like, if you love cats, like, cool, like, show your freaking cats. Like, there's going to be some guys that really like cats. You want people to see your uniqueness. So first, photos, just you want them to be really highlight what you do, what you like, who you are. Second, the explanations of who you are, be really unique with that too. Specifically, like, what do you really like? What are you into? What are you not into? How do your friends describe you? What's a unique way to describe you? Don't be esoteric. Don't be, like, creative with it. Be really straightforward of, like, I really like cats. I really like snowboarding. I really like to laugh with my friends about dry humor. And my favorite movie is, say, some random movie that's going to make someone be like, wait, what? Instead of the most basic response you could have is like, I like long walks on the beach and ice cream and my friends. It's like there's nothing that you can really connect with on that.
Or it's like, what I want to do, get off this app. Like, you have to have, you need to have stuff that's, like, getting people to respond.
Yes.
And I think, especially with, like, the more specific, like the movies, that'll get someone who likes something like that, that'll get a response. Like, a lot of the questions were also centered around, how do I get the conversation going, which we'll get to after you give the script. Like, I know that's really what it is. Yeah. But for me, like, I had a photo of me and Martha Stewart. And that was, like, obviously that's so me. And that was what everyone responded to. And it brought up, like, good conversation. Now, I was vague as to how I met her. I didn't explain my job, I will say. But, like,
and that's okay.
It was fine. Like, that stuff, I think even just, like, another one that I have, like, friends in Dallas do, because, like, now I'm redoing everyone's Hinge profile. Like, it's so annoying because if you, like, anyone who knew me before this, and, like, all the podcast listeners are like, shut the fuck up, because I was so not this way, but things have changed. But I'll go through and, like, even something as small as, like, if you're really into, like, a specific drink, like, show me the best one in this city. That's so easy, and that's a way to get, like, off the app and on a date, like, very quickly. Like, that was just something that I noticed.
Like, just anything that makes you stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, your script.
Okay, the script. So you match with someone, and then this works for guys and girls. I personally liked it as a girl because oftentimes a guy, like, girls do expect guys to say hey first, but it makes you stand out. Like, the whole point is, like, stand out, seem different, make yourself, like, authentically unique. So whether you're a guy or girl, this is the script. You match with someone, and then you say, hey, XXX, whatever their name is. I really like your photo of doing blah, blah, blah. Like, be specific, let them know, like, you see them. And then say, can I ask you a question? So that's the whole first message is, hey, say their name, say something you like about their profile, and then say, can I ask you a question? That is so intriguing. Like, people are like, wait, like, yeah, what's up? Anything. I'm an open book. Like, people will respond to that. Then, this is the script from my therapist. Her name's Jordan Blue. She's amazing. Then you say, okay, cool. I'm honestly, these dating apps are kind of overwhelming. So I thought I'd pivot, like use the word pivot. It makes you just seem like, okay, she's in charge. She's clear. She's smart. So I thought I'd pivot instead of doing all of the small talk and trying to flirt with each other before we even know if we align. I'd love to tell you about what I'm looking for on here. I'd love to hear what you're looking for. If we align, we can go back to all the flirting and you can ask me out with a winky face. Something generally like that. Basically saying, hey, this is a lot. Thought I'd pivot. I want to know what you're looking for. I'll share what I'm looking for. Then we can go back to flirting. You can put it in your own tone, but that's the general message. Only a few guys didn't respond. Most guys were like, oh my gosh, this is a breath of fresh air. This is so nice. Like, wow, like, I can't wait to tell you what I'm looking for. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? And I would, either one. Like, I'd be like, oh, I can go first or you can go first. And they would tell me these, like, really deep stories of, like, I was in a 6-year relationship and she passed away. And I'd been single for 4 years and I'm opening my heart for the first time. Like, it's that type of conversation that would allow me to see who someone is. Sometimes people would be like, yeah, I struggle because for some specific reason that actually didn't align with me. And I'd be like, dang, like I deeply understand what you're going through. Like, it seems like we actually want different things, but I'm wishing you all the best. And they'd be like, thank you so much. Like, this is so nice just to be honest with each other. That always opened the door. Then after we'd share, then it would obviously lean into like, okay, now we're kind of flirting, texting back and forth, smiley faces, whatever. And they would ask me out.
It actually works.
Oh, it
too.
works so well.
It works so well. And I think people are just scared because they don't want to come on too strong or they feel cringe or they feel whatever. And one, you have nothing to lose.
No.
You don't know these people. They're literally on an app. You're fine. Yeah. And also, again, like you don't want to appeal to the masses. You want to appeal to the right person. So you actually want to vet these people out. You don't want to be going on dates for the rest of your life. No. Like you want to kind of like scare away the ones that aren't right for you.
Totally.
And stop wasting your time. Like that's gonna get you to where you want to go way faster. Yep. Even people I already know because it's like you hear it and you're like, oh, that's great, but like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you actually should because it'll get you to where you want to go.
It's like, what do you really want? Like, do you want to meet your person or do you want to keep dating?
No,
because
literally.
that's how you meet your person. You're really clear.
People are also asking, like, how many dates should you be going on before, one, you should have some sort of either idea of the future or be official?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, really good question. I don't think there's any timeline for that. Like, I don't have like okay, so date number 6, do this. I think it's more so about the type of communication you have with the person. So actually this therapist that I keep talking about, she said to me and my current partner, we kind of knew pretty quickly, like we are each other's person. And I was like, wait, is this going too fast? And she was like, she looked at me and she was like, Nora, how well do I know you? And I was like, you know me better than basically anyone in my life. And she was like, and how much time have I spent with you? And I was like, wow, actually, I mean, hours, like not like years. And she's like, exactly. So it's more about the types of questions I'm asking you, the type of conversations I'm having with you. That's how I know you deeply. She was like, my partner's name is Drew. She was like, you ask him really straightforward, clear, deep questions. He asks you similar questions back. You guys know that you're each other's person because you are really intentional with your time together. So I think the worst thing we can do is be casual because it just hurts. It just spends a lot of time that we don't know if that ROI is going to actually have come back to us. And like it can really hurt our heart to like kind of imagine or fill in the blanks with these unspoken conversations and think like, oh, well, I don't know this about him. I've never asked, but I think he'll be this way, or I think she'll be this way, or I think she wants that. It's like, well, why don't we just talk about it? And there's ways to bring up those conversations that isn't like overwhelming or controlling or intense. It's like, I always use the language of, instead of like, what do you want? I always say, hey, what I'm looking for is this. This is who I am. This is what I'm feeling. How are you feeling? What are you looking for? It's so much more easy when I hold my own truth. It allows other people to tell me the truth too.
Is there like a specific setting that you would recommend bringing that stuff up? Because obviously like not every place is like great to have these conversations. Yeah. Like what would you recommend?
Yeah. I think that honestly, if you're meeting someone on a dating app, I think that first message is so pivotal because when you just straight up are like, yeah, I want to have kids one day. I want to raise them with this specific faith, if that's important to you, or for some people, like, I don't drink, or I travel a lot for work and I hope that my partner really likes to travel too. Like, just anything specific. If you know those things, like, genuinely, then you never really have to have that conversation again, at least for a while. So I think in terms of like where to have the conversation, I'd have it like first date or first couple messages, and then get to have fun with the other person.
Yeah, like pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
A guy asked me that I like wasn't into on a first date, and he asked me like the way he asked me at the end like what I was looking for, but the way he said it wasn't like, what are you looking for in dating? It was like 10 year, 15 year. It was like too intense.
Yeah,
it was too overwhelming.
No.
And then he found out that I was an influencer on the date, and he like made a joke about how like, it was like, oh, are you just trying to get content? Which like at that time, like I kind of was. Like I wasn't like, you know what I mean?
I
was
so
like,
many people say that to me too. Like,
yeah,
oh, are you trying to do this? Blah blah. And I'm like, no, I'm here. And
yeah,
I'm genuine.
yeah. No, but I was like, well, I mean, I am filming a YouTube video about this. But I'm also like, I'm going on dates to go on dates.
Yeah,
like I'm
both.
trying, you know what I mean? But it is like, all of this stuff just like came up naturally with other stuff.
Exactly. That's why I say like in the beginning, it's not, hey, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? It's like, what are you looking for in dating? Like that. Well, let's just start right now. Who are you? What do you want?
And it's good. Like it is. Okay, I'm gonna pull up questions because there's so many just for some of our last minute. Let's see. It's so funny. Okay, speaking of like while we were recording, I like couldn't stalk Charlie on socials because he has no social media at all. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I saw you say that.
He has no social media. And this is what I wanted to bring up earlier.
Okay.
When it came to dating apps, another thing that was really helpful for me when I was on apps is through dating in the past, I would always say to people, the guys that I was dating that I liked the most, I would have never swiped right on Hinge.
Totally.
That was kind of my issue with apps is that like, I'm like, well, all the guys that I like, I wouldn't have swiped on. Like I know that for a fact with their profiles, whatever. So I actually went into Hinge with that mindset of like, if someone has too good of a profile, like that might not really be like if they have blurry photos and like there's certain things like that might be okay. Cause like that is more of the kind of guy that I would like.
Yeah.
And he also had on his profile that he didn't have any social media.
Yep.
So I was like, perfect. Like that's what made me swipe because his profile was bad. Like his profile was like, there's nothing there. He to this day, like on his phone that he's had like since 2012, he's like 570 photos. Probably more now because of me. But like no photos, nothing. Like when I say no photos. No photos.
We love a no social media.
It is crazy.
Let's go.
So I went on and we like couldn't find anything, whatever. So we went on a date, and thank God I knew that going into it because I wouldn't have ever like gone on a date because he didn't like. He's so cute, but he didn't really have like many photos. You couldn't really tell. He was like so much cuter in person because not because he wasn't cute in the photos, because they were blurred. Like it was a bad profile. Anyway, all that to say, we also couldn't stalk him because he had no social media, and he was like in the army. He literally had nothing. Like he had nothing on the stuff. Or on stuff. So we had someone that we knew who like could do background checks and like pull stuff up.
Great.
Because we couldn't find.
You did your research.
I did it after the first date. Okay. We couldn't find anything. Okay. Like at all. And we found his mom on Instagram who just texted me, which is what I'm getting to. And that is when I was like, because the first date like went so well, but it wasn't something where I was like insane like sparks. It was like I knew I really liked him. It was the first time I was on a date where I was like, oh, I could date this guy. Like I remember having that thought and then just feeling very, very calm. Like I remember, and I think that myself maybe a couple years ago would have been like, it needed to be this insane spark. And like, it was in a way that was healthy. You know what I mean? Not in the way that it had in the past. In the next 24 hours, we found his mom on Instagram. His mom needlepoints, mahjong. She's an interior decorator. Cool. We have all the same interests. We were literally besties. She just sent me a needlepoint canvas she got. But like, so many things, but we found his mom's Instagram. So if they don't have social media, just find his mom's Instagram. Because that's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to date him. Yeah. That was literally it. And there were photos of like him with like his nephews and stuff. And I was like, perfect, because I'm so close to my niece, like whatever. So if you can't stalk them, just stalk their mom. Yeah. You'll be so good.
Such good advice.
Yeah, seriously.
If you take anything from this podcast episode, it's that.
Literally. Okay. When it comes to apps, people are asking, what can we do to get off the apps? Yep. So if someone is like a pen pal for too long, would you just leave it or would you initiate the date? Like what would you do?
I think it all starts with that first message. So I think how you get off the apps is like right away be like, hey, thought I'd pivot. Kind of wanted to see what you're looking for. I'll share what I'm looking for. And then we can go back to the flirting winky face. They'll see from even that message like, oh, you're here to like actually meet and not just pen pal. If you're already in the dynamic of pen paling them for months, I would personally ask them out. I'd be like, oh my gosh, let's finally meet. When are you free? I'm free this Friday.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
How do you deal with dating burnout?
Okay. I think dating burnout comes from two things. I think if the mindset that you have is creating that confirmation bias that like dating doesn't work, I'm not going to find my person, I'm broken, just change that belief because it's not true. And our beliefs will confirm our reality and we'll keep seeing it over and over again. So even if it feels crazy to be like, no, I am someone who will find my person on an online app. If you don't actually believe that, see other people who are doing that and try to adopt their belief until you believe it for yourself. I think the second thing that happens from burnout is when we're dating too many people at the same time. I made an Excel sheet 2 summers ago when I met my boyfriend, and my first date with him, I didn't go on a second date with him because I was so overwhelmed. I was dating too many guys. I said, thank you, but no thank you. There was nothing wrong with him. I just was overwhelmed and burnt out. And then we reconnected like a few months later when I was out of my burnout, and I was like, wait, this guy's amazing and everything I'm looking for. What was I thinking? But I was just dating too many people at the same time.
Yeah. How many people do you think you should be dating at the same time if you're dating actively?
Yeah, I think after like 3 or 4 dates, you kind of really know like if you want to invest in this one person. So I think you can go on 1 or 2 or 3 dates within like a few weeks span. Especially if you go on a first or second date and you realize, oh, it's not my person. Like you can continue dating other people, but once you get pretty deep into those conversations, especially with that first message that I recommended, I don't recommend doing that with like more than 3 or 4 people at the same time for those like first or second dates.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
Exhausting.
Yeah. Like you absolutely cannot.
Yeah.
I could not keep up with that.
I mean, that was my mistake. So don't follow what I did.
Absolutely. People keep asking like, what are, the biggest red flags or like the biggest dating mistakes?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's I also kind of think like maybe too, like we're focusing too much on red flags and like bad things and not good stuff. So I feel like everything that we said, just the opposite. Yeah. All the advice you've given,
Yeah. I mean, I think people want to focus on red flags to be safe.
Yes,
I get
totally.
why, because you and I have talked about it. Like we've both been in relationships where I wasn't safe and I was so in love and so kind of like rose-colored glasses that I thought, oh, well, this is okay because I love him. So in terms of red flags, I don't think it's necessarily bad to like focus on them. I think it's really just trusting them. Like, so really, like you said, feel into your body of like, I don't feel good right now. I feel anxious right now. I don't feel safe right now. If they're invalidating how you feel or what you're saying or what you're doing or putting you down or trying to control you, like those are all big red flags.
Someone also asked how to have a non-negotiables list without being too picky.
I think that one I would flip to. Instead of a non-negotiable, I would flip it to like, these are the things that I deeply value. And so instead of a like, nope, you don't fit, you're not good enough, you're not what I want, it's more so like, hey, this is who I am. Does he align with it?
I like that shift.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things too that I like see in Charlie that I'll like just random small stuff that I'm like, oh my God, I forgot that I like wanted that.
Yeah.
Or like that I like prayed for that forever. Like I forgot about that.
Totally.
And I think sometimes I think a list of values and things that you want, but I also think like sometimes a non-negotiables list, like, I don't know, to me, especially when we're talking about like, I don't fully know what I want in dating, like that was a little bit overwhelming to me because I am like, I don't think that, yes, everyone around me was like, Charlie's exactly what you like, I thought you would end up with. That's exactly it. But I didn't like, it's not that I didn't see that with Charlie. I think I was just more confused. Yeah. I saw it with Charlie the second I met him, but like I was confused. I don't think that like if I made a non-negotiables list at a certain point, it would have been for the right kind of partner for me. You know what I mean? Totally. I think that the values list, I think that's so much better.
I think values versus non-negotiables are two totally different things. Non-negotiables are like nitpicking. Yeah. And like trying to control the narrative of like, I guess, how the world sees your partner. Values is like, oh my gosh, like behind the scenes, like in our home in the future, will we enjoy the same things? Mm-hmm. Do we laugh at the same things? Do we want to raise our kids the same way? Or do we want kids or do we not want kids? Like that's very different than non-negotiables.
Agreed. Okay, you'll have to come back on the podcast.
I can't wait to get that.
I have so many like other things I could say. Yeah. Like, or ask, I guess, not say. I have so many questions. But I need to do, like, I think we need to do a full, like, hour episode on, like, the ins and outs of matchmaking. I'm just so curious about this. Like, it is so iconic.
It's so much fun.
That's such a fun, like, deal breaker, or not deal breaker, icebreaker for, like, a party.
A party, yeah.
Two truths and a lie.
Was that what I said? I can't remember how it even came up.
I think it was probably the dating. I think someone brought up a dating challenge and then somehow.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, and still even today, sometimes people will be like, if you have a match for me. So like people always DM me, message me about that. And like, I think we can matchmake ourselves. I think like truly the ingredient of matchmaking, what I learned is like, when you know who you are and what you want and what your values are, you can matchmake yourself for your business. You can matchmake yourself for your friends. You can matchmake yourself for your brand, your dream career, of course, your dating life. But like the power is like we hold the power to create certain aspects of our life. Of course, we co-create it, but if we don't know what that is, then we'll kind of be waiting for a really long time.
Yeah, I think this is a way. This girl Kate came on the podcast and I really liked her forever.
Is she a dating coach?
No, she's not actually.
Okay.
But she was talking about how she hated the narrative around like you have to wait for like all the guys to come and ask you how it gives like women no agency over their dating life. And like I'm not someone who like wants to ask guys on like I wouldn't do that because like the kind of personality I like is someone who like takes charge. Yeah. However, I do think there's a lot of which you can control, which is the stuff that you're talking about. Like this is a way that you like take agency and you're proactive versus just letting life happen to you. And then you end up, whereas I was just ending up in the wrong relationships and I was losing myself consistently. I was like chipping away for so long to the point where I went completely the opposite way. And I was like, I need to be single and not speak to anyone for 5 years, you know? And now we're in a better place.
Yeah, now we're in a better place.
What a journey.
Cheers to that.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. Where can they find you?
My Instagram mainly, so Nora DeKeyser, NoraDekeyser. And then my business is called Identity Department. So it's all about just, again, finding out who you are, what your values are, and building a brand around that, whether it's like a personal brand, whether it's a brand for your dating app. It's just a brand that you share with the world. So those are the two places you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye, guys.